Hey guys, welcome back. Today we'll be taking a look at the basic setup of your Home Assistant. So remember in the previous video we did set up Home Assistant and we did the install. So today we'll just take a look at some essential stuff that you need to do before we go ahead and continue with the actual automations that we can go ahead and add in some custom sensors as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, it looks exactly the same as where we left off or where we ended on the previous video. So let's go ahead and go through some of the information in here. So the overview is basically your home page or your home screen with all your entities that you've added in here or all your devices. So currently it is blank. You may see some devices show up the first time you set it up. As you can see, I also have a notification here showing that new devices were discovered. So if it is a supported device, Home Assistant would go ahead and detect that specific device automatically. Now what we could do is, if it doesn't show up, you can go ahead and click on the configuration down here, and if we go to integrations, you'll see right here it shows us discovered, and you'll see it already has some discovered devices that I've set up previously, or like my Google Cast. It'll automatically goes ahead and detect that information. If you do have an existing device that may be supported, you can go ahead and click on the plus sign right here at the bottom, and you'll see it brings up that menu, and you can go ahead and select these specific devices if you have something very specific that you'd like to go ahead and add in that may be supported. But the first thing that we're going to take a look at is customizing the installation a bit so we can go ahead and access some more information. So the most important section in here is going to be has.io. So as you can see, you have a dashboard, snapshots, which is just a backup, so you can go ahead and create a backup of your installation. The add-on store, which we'll get to just in a minute. So we go to system, and then in here you can go ahead and do some server maintenance like rebooting the server or changing the host name. So let's go ahead and look at the add-on store right here, and as you can see, there's nothing installed on here at the moment. So what we'll do is the essential stuff that we can go ahead and add. Now you can go through and add your own or select the ones that you would like to have, but the ones I would definitely recommend, the very first one is going to be the Somerset Share. So we just click on it, and as easy as 1, 2, 3, we can just go ahead and click on install right here, and that'll go ahead and start that installation. There we go. So that has been installed. We can go ahead and enable auto update as well if you want to. So what the Somerset Share allows us to do is it allows us to go ahead and access Home Assistant from using your normal Windows network. So you can go ahead and access those config files. So if we go a bit down, there is some things that we need to go ahead and take a look at. If we go down to our configuration right here, you'll see that it has a username and a password listed in here. We can go ahead and fill in a username and password in here before we go ahead and hit start on that. So let's just quickly go ahead and add in a username and a password. I'm going to leave the username as is just for now. I'll just go ahead and add in a password. And remember to go ahead and add that in the quotation marks as well, the same as the username. And then hit save. And once we've saved that, we can just go ahead all the way up then, up to the start, and hit start. So go ahead and click start. And there we go. As you can see, everything has started and everything should be running correctly. You can go all the way down to the log file and hit refresh, and as you can see, it shows us that it's busy. It started running that process. So now with that install, we have it started, everything is set up. To access the Home Assistant files, we can now go ahead to any of the computers on our network. We can just go ahead and open up a window, it could be any window, and we can just go ahead and type in right here as // and then we go has.io.local, hit enter, it's going to go ahead and ask you for a username and password. Remember the username and password we did for that installation, we added a username and password in there. So I'm going to go hasio and then type in the password, and I'm going to go ahead and remember this so I don't have to type it in again, and just click on OK, and there we go. So now we have access to all the files listed in our hasio dictionary. So we can go ahead, and the one that you'll be using mostly is going to be the config. So we go ahead and open up config, and right here you'll see there is all the files. So the main ones that we'll use on here is going to be the configuration.yaml. Now what I would recommend is you can go ahead and install a application called Notepad++. So if you right click on a file, you'll see I have this Notepad++. I'll have a link down in the description, which will allow you to view the files way more easy than with opening it up like in a normal text editor. So I'm going to go ahead and open up in Notepad++, and there we go. So as you can see, there's not a lot of information in here because we haven't really added in anything, so we still have our default in here. I'm not going to go ahead and go deep into this. We'll get to that as we go through the setup. So that's just it. That's what that specific add-on does. So we can go ahead and go back. Okay, so the second one we're going to go ahead and take a look at is going to be DuckDNS right here. This is just a free dynamic DNS which will allow you to go ahead and set up remote access, and also create a secure generate a certificate for your HAS installation. So we can just go ahead and hit the install button right here, and let's just wait for that to finish. Now there is instructions on each of these as well, so if you do get stuck and you need to go ahead and set it up, you can follow the installation guide in the add-on description as well. Okay, so that went ahead and installed. So all we need to do now is you can go ahead and click on this link right here, which will go ahead and set up an account on DuckDNS. And then if you go down all the way here, all you need to do is you can just go ahead and type in your token and the domain, hit save, and then go ahead and start the server. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in this information real quick. We do this and then the domain. Give me 1 second. There we go, added in the domain. One thing to keep in mind is when adding the domain, make sure you have the format set up exactly the same as this, so it's between those two brackets, and then you also need to add in your domain in there. Okay, there we go, and that is installed. So the only thing that we need to do also as well as just accept the terms, so change that from false to true, and then you should be good to go. Okay, so once we have that everything set up and it started and it's running okay, the last thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and edit the configuration YAML file. Remember that's in the hasio.local. We go to config folder and then open the configuration YAML. I already have it open in here. Now the only thing you need to do here is you'll have these two listed in here. You have we need to uncomment those and add in the information. I'm going to leave this in the description as well, so I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in here. So we just uncommented that HTTPS and added in the base URL, which will be our DuckDNS URL, and then I added these two lines for the certificate files, and that should be it. So you can just go ahead and hit save. Once that is saved, we need to go back to our Home Assistant installation and go ahead and restart it. So I'm going to go click on hasio. I know this is behind the camera, but you'll see exactly where it is, and then click on system and just go ahead and reboot. Now what would happen is it's going to go ahead and change your address all the way to the top as well. So where it says HTTP right here, it's going to change to HTTPS once everything is configured correctly. So if you go to normal hasio.local, you may not get into Home Assistant, so you'll need to use HTTPS to get in there, and it's going to ask you to re-log in. So you can just go ahead and save your password, and then you should be good to go. The last thing in there is you would also need to go ahead and port forward. So that's something you are going to have to go ahead and look up on your own. I'm not going to go ahead and show you how to port forward because it's going to be different for each setup that you have depending on the router you're using. But you need to go ahead and port forward port 8123 and have external access to your Home Assistant. Keep in mind just one more thing in your configuration YAML file. Make sure you're using HTTPS and not normal HTTP, or it may cause you some issues. Then let's go to the rest of the add-ons in here real quick. So go to the add-on store. The next thing that we're going to go ahead and install is Mosquito Broker as well. So go in here and click on install, and we'll let that go ahead and install as well. Then once that has gone ahead and installed, you can go ahead and click on start, and then also make sure you do start on boot. Then one more thing, to be able to connect, remember this is the MQTT server, so we also need to be able to go ahead and connect to it from Home Assistant so it can receive messages that's being sent from our devices. So we go to configurations, and then in integrations, we can just go ahead and click on configure MQTT. I'm going to go ahead and enable discovery as well and click on submit. And there we go. So now we're also connected to the MQTT broker. And then now that that's installed, we can go ahead and go back and go open up the Mosquito Broker. And if we take a look at the log file right here, you'll see that it shows us that the client has connected. Okay, so we have that set up, so we can go ahead and add one or two more add-ons in here. So if we go ahead and click on add-on store, there is one more in here I definitely know we have to go ahead and add, and that's going to be NodeRed. Now I know Home Assistant does have their own automations you can set up, but NodeRed offers much more flexibility, and we'll get into that as soon as we set up those sensors as well. So you can just go ahead and click on install with NodeRed and wait for that to finish. There we go. So once we have that set up, we need to go ahead and add in some information in here. So we have a credential secret. Now you can go ahead and add in anything in here. It's almost like a password, but you can go ahead and add in your own secret in here, and then you can go ahead and add a username in here and a password, the same just below it as well. We also need a additional username and a password. Once you have that, you go ahead and hit save, and we can go ahead and hit start, and that'll go ahead and start. There we go. And once that has started, you'll see we can just go ahead and click on NodeRed right here, and it'll open up NodeRed's interface, and we'll get to that at a later stage. The very last one that we need to install with add-ons is going to be ESPHome. We need to go ahead and add in a custom URL, so we can go ahead and just add it in here. I'll leave this in the description as well if needed. I'm just going to go ahead and click on add, and it's going to go ahead and refresh the page. Once that is added, there we go, you'll see it's listed in here. So if we go down now, you'll see right here we have ESPHome listed. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on it, and then go ahead and hit install right here as well. There we go. So that's installed. I'm going to go ahead and let it auto update and also show it in the bar, in the sidebar. And I don't think we need to have any configuration in here, so you can just go ahead and hit start, and it should start ESPHome. There we go. That should be it. So we can just go down, check the log. And then once that is up and running, we would be able to go ahead and click on the ESPHome and access that as well. There we go. Okay guys, that's going to be it for this video. There was just a preparation. I know we haven't added actual information to Home Assistant, but we're just preparing so we have everything ready when we start going in and adding in our custom sensors. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and make use of ESP Home, and we'll go ahead and create a custom sensor and maybe add some things in there. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day.